me, and we have Jaden. He is our routing administrator, and we have Kendrick. And we're calling this meeting today because there's going to be some major changes regarding how MCBST is going to operate and function. And we decided to bring this to the public because we felt it is essential for our members to know what's going to be happening in the coming future at MCBST. So, as far as that, our key goals for the fall 2022 is to revise the admission procedure, reform the CDO training procedures, inform members about the CDO map and the CDO training center, and then discuss current plans for the fleet buses, and then discuss transportation operations. So, and if you have any questions, please hold them till the end of the meeting. So, for the admission procedures, all members that wish to be admitted into MCBST will submit an application and will be verbally interviewed. And you are required to have a mic for the interview. Applicants who apply for CDL training sessions, the sessions that will be split up into days and lesson plans will be given on different days. So that's if you pass the application and then you go to apply for CDL training. Members who do not qualify to be in MCBST can still be in the server publicly, but cannot apply for CDL training until they reapply and meet the standards we have set. Members will be monitored on their activity on a daily basis, depending on your position in MCBST. And the last one is there will be no public channels to talk or chat in the server until you pass the admission process and become an employee. So the last one about no public channels. It's gotten to a very bad point where we have people coming up in here and starting stuff, childish, stupid things over nothing, and this is not just over one day. This has been over the past few days, and it's disrupting the community environment, and it's disrupting the working environment. So we have been forced to put this in place where the applicants are not able to chat. They won't be able to see any channels or anything of like that until they've been interviewed and they pass the interview. So that's that. Um Applications will be coming out soon after the meeting. So they'll be posted and you'll be updated on things happening in the updates channel, but you will not be able to type in any channels that are public. But just to inform you, we have some positions that need to be filled as far as bus drivers. We're going to be looking for 15 bus drivers, 2 special needs drivers, 8 substitute drivers, and then bus monitors, special needs monitors. So in total, we're going to have 15 drivers, but it's going to be broken down as to substitute drivers, special needs drivers, and then the bus monitoring and special needs. And as far as schools, we'll have alternative schools, charter schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and early college schools. Now, about the CDL course information, something that is going to be important. So, after you pass the admission process and you've been interviewed, members that would like to start the CDL training program at MCBST will have to be enrolled by completing the enrollment form. So, that's basically where you apply to be a CDL student. So, trainees will attend CDL classes that are hosted 2 days out of the week. So there'll be 2 days where a training session will be hosted, and then on the weekend there will be a recap session for people who had missed one of the other trainings during the week. Trainees will be evaluated closely as they partake in the CDL classes and when they go to complete their driving course. Um, those who pass will receive their CDL and S endorsement and L restriction. Then those who want to remove their L restriction will have to take an additional test in other classes that we offer. And if you don't know what that is, basically when you get your CDL, you basically will only be able to operate a bus with hydraulic brakes. And if you want to operate a bus with air brakes, you have to take another test and other classes to get get understanding on how to use a bus with air brakes. But the classroom CDL curriculum standards will be air brake instruction, hydraulic brake instruction, general pre-trip and post-trip inspections, passenger safety and evacuation protocols. And then the CDL road and safety test will test you on your knowledge of the air brakes, the hydraulic brakes, pre-trip and post-trip, and then the actual road test. So current plans for the fleet buses of MCBST. The first and main thing that needs to be discussed and addressed is the buses that are of Gen X or Gen X3, Gen X2 or Gen X3 will not be used as fleet buses. This is because they cause performance issues and they just will not be suitable for the game and the CDL map. The buses will stay on the A chassis 1.5, but will be optimized to not impact performance greatly. So we're going to try to keep the buses on the 1.5 chassis, but remove some certain things that are causing the chassis to be very performance impacting on the game and for people with lower NPCs. Bus type variety will be limited in the beginning at the very most to two or three bus brands. That's because bus brands are very scarce for the type of buses we use. Um, the buses will be modded to not impact the game performance for the driver. So we're going to try our best to get the buses to where they don't lag as much. Not saying they will be lag free, but we will try to make them to where they don't impact the game in mass quantity. Um, okay, we will attempt to make the fleet buses range from in different model years. Uh, um, this is not a top priority in terms of operations. We're mainly concerned about getting the buses done and finalized for the fleet and the CDL map. Um, and here's some just a general thing, but all buses will have air conditioning on them, seat belts, and other comfort and safety systems for both the driver and the students. So that's another thing just to note about. Plans for the CDL map. The CDL map will be based somewhat on the real area in Louisiana. Um, roads are going to be have designated street names and signs. So when you get on the road, you're not going to see anything in the sky. You're going to have to actually look at the street names and the street signs to be able to know what street you're turning on. And there will be a display showing what street you are on when you get in the game. So just bear that in mind. Map will try to be optimized for as many buses as we can fit on the map and players too, in whatever scenery will be placed on the map. The training center, for the training center, we're going to have the trainees attend classes in game. There'll be a voice channel and a PowerPoint for presentations to make it easier. Um, Training course will be set up and designated to challenge students on how the CDL map will be constructed in the possible scenarios. Then, of course, a training process will take more than 1 day to get the full lesson of the CDL training program. So you will not be passing training in 1 day. It's going to be it's going to take a few days because we're going to have different lessons and different things you need to know about how to operate the bus in order to actually pass your training and be ready for the road test. So I'm now going to hand over the stage to Jaden, and he will explain everything about the transportation department plans.
All right, hey y'all. I'm the transportation coordinator. I'm in charge of routing, bus evaluations, and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the general overview of the information you need to know about the transportation department. All right, so CDL training is required to become a certified driver within MCBST. That means you would have to do all the training steps and all the stuff that Kenny explained. You would have to do all that before you become a driver with us. Um, Drivers will have full access to all transportation resources needed to be employed here. You will have everything you need to have, including all the sheets, documents, routes, all that. You will have full access to that. You might have it on the website. On our website, we have. You may have it somewhere on a Google. You're going to have all that stuff. Um, Drivers will have assigned bus mechanic, transportation overseers, and maybe also provided with safety bus monitors upon request. Now, bus mechanics. Now, if something, everybody has their own mechanic, really. I mean, we're going to have a few mechanics, but some people are going to have assigned mechanics, but based on what area you're in or whatever. Transportation overseers at each school, at each school we have, there is a transportation overseer. So if you have any questions about how they park or how they will, guide you. Transportation officers will guide you. Bus monitors. Really, if you want a bus monitor, you can get one. If you request to have one. Mainly special needs buses will have them, but if you need one for a regular ed bus route, you may get it. Um, Drivers will have access to request substitutes for days that they may be in absence. So if you're out one day, you need a sub, there will be a form where you can send in and request a sub driver, and you will have a sub driver for that day. This does not mean you can send this every day. This does not mean you will be able to send in this request every day for a substitute, because in order to be in here, you have to drive a bus. Not every day. I mean, there are some days where you're going to be out, but you cannot require a sub to be on your bus every day. If that's the case, then that means a substitute needs a bus, and then you'll be taken off. You must be dedicated upon here. You need to be dedicated to being here. We do not, just come here. This is not any other company like all those other companies where you can just drive one day or not come back for the rest of the year or take a break, for 2 years or whatever. Then you gonna come. No, it's not like that. Bus assignments and routings. Certified drivers will be assigned a bus and route, and will be given the opportunity to bid. So you will have you get the bid routes, bid a bus or whatever. You'll get the opportunity to do that once you get your training and interviews and all that done. Um, Drivers will have optional runs to take and everything different by different levels of education: alternative charter, elementary, middle, or high school. You have different routes you can take. Drivers are allowed to take many runs as requested. You can do that. Um, all bus routing information will be provided to all drivers, but routes will be typed out in a format with directions. So you will have a document showing where to go on your routes and stuff, um, and all that, and destinations to go to. Um, and yeah, that's it. I'm gonna pass the other side to Ken because Ken has some information to tell as well. If he wants to add some stuff and all that. All right, Ken.
All right, to bounce back off of what those two were talking about throughout this discussion, behavior is very vital. So, in order to be here, you cannot be acting immature, none of that. So, there has been many layers of security that has been implemented and will be implemented throughout the course of today and tomorrow. So, I will be locking some channels up. People ranks may be removed. Well, y'all already have y'all rank, so y'all will be moved to like the applicant rank. Everybody except for the administrators that's currently here. So if you would like to, apply to be a driver or whatnot, you can do so. But we will be heavily monitoring throughout the applicant chat because that will be the only place where you can discuss things at. But if you can't handle yourself there, that means it's like you can't really be here. And it's a lot of rules and regulations that will be removed because as we felt necessary, like the profanity rule and such. If the rule says, to not cuss and you can cuss to a minimum, but people take the advantage to cuss and cuss people out and call them all these disrespectful names, that rule will be permanently removed. Well, the rule is that no cussing. So even though it's no cussing, it's no cussing. And if you're caught cussing, you will be out. All of these rules are not to just be overlooked. Is which I discussed with Burker. So it's either you follow the rules or you just get out. And
Um,
I'm sorry we had to put it like that. and we had to add all this security stuff, and people may seem like it's strict. It's just more so to get things back in order. Maybe over time the server can be opened back up, but to get everything under control, only certain people will have that. Only certain people will have that restriction.
Yeah.
So certain people may have access to these public chats if they don't want to be a driver.
Yeah.
Not everybody will have that.
Yeah. And everything comes with a boundary. So you know how whenever you become a driver here, or maybe just an applicant now that you are now, you have boundaries. You cannot talk to an administrator like you run it. You can't do that. Whenever you're in here.
Hold on, Jaden. Sunya Poop, can you stop requesting? We said to hold all questions until the end. Thank you.
But yeah, whenever you come in here, you need to be respectful, interview. People are going to be looking at stuff like that. I may be interviewing you. You may have somebody else interviewing you. People are going to look about how you talk. People are going to look, because this is just virtual. So people are going to see how you're talking to people. People are going to be monitoring your behavior on here. People are going to be doing all that. They're going to be like, okay, he does this. He's capable of doing this. We don't need that here. And by me being a transportation coordinator, working with all the bus drivers and stuff, how am I supposed to give you a bus route or let you bid on a bus route and you can't even behave on Discord? So how do you expect to go on the game, do all the bus driver duties you need to do? And I feel like, okay, I'm going to have to watch you, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not babysitting. This is not, you can't come in here and just start stuff you can't do that. There will be boundaries set. There will be rules that you will have to follow. And if I feel when I interview some of y'all, whenever y'all start sending in that mission requests and stuff, when I start interviewing y'all and I see this pettiness and pettiness, you'll be sent out the door, turned around, because we don't need that here. We had so much of that for the past couple of days, and it's time to start fresh and brand new. So if you got some sense, this is the place for you. If you don't, it's time to go on and hit the road, because we're not doing it. What else? Yeah. And some of you, and just to add on back to the transportation department plans, some of you will not start off automatically as a driver. Some of you might start, and this is not a bad thing. This is just something, some of y'all may start off as bus monitors just to see, because we have to balance out. We have to see, okay, who we're putting on these buses, who we're putting in routes. And by me making the routes, me and my admin assistant, by us creating the bus routes or whatever, we have to make sure y'all understand, every bus route and stuff if y'all need help. Because these bus routes, they're going to be long. They're going to be times where you're going to have somebody to help you. And I can't help you if I'm in the office and I'm driving the bus myself. Because yes, I'm going to be a driver too. I'm driving the bus too. Not all of our admins drive. Some of them drive, and we is on route. So we can't just pause our route just to help y'all. So some of y'all will start off as bus aides, bus monitors. So that way you can assist people. Some of y'all can do that. And then you can, when I feel that, okay, he's doing good, I might move you up to a driver. It's just, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that we have to make sure everybody is on the same page when getting hired, trained, and all that. So everybody's on the same page. Bus, and I'll put in more information about bus bidding. Bus bidding, you may not get what you want. There's so many people bidding on things. You may not get what you want. You may not get what route you may want. You might not get what bus. It's just there to have to where, okay, so we know what you would like. We know that's just there. You may not, it's not promised that you may get it, because there's so many of y'all applying and getting trained and getting ready to be bus drivers in here. It's so many that we just have to, put y'all where we can fit you in at. Let's see, what else do I have? I think that's all I have. Is there any questions? This is the time to start clicking the button on the raise hand thing. If you have any questions, you may ask me about that, or anybody else in here, any other admins you may ask. But yeah, I think that's all I had to add on. Ken, are y'all?
And if you're gonna ask a question, it better be a good question.
Yeah, I don't have time to be. Yeah. Ken, is there anything else you want to add on? Not really. All right, so now it's question time. Come on, now you guys start having. I better not receive DMs later. What is this? This is the time to start asking. Because once I'm working on stuff, that's it. I'm trying to go ahead and get y'all to ask questions now. So later on, y'all ain't getting any DMs to answer questions, because once I see it, I'm going to answer. So, any questions about bus times? Any questions about routing? Any questions about training? Any questions about how to get in here? Is there any type of questions? Please raise your hand or do something. Because I know somebody's eager to ask something.
All right, Bluebird, I have a question. Or do you want to do it in voice chat or?
Bring them up here so I can hear them. Yeah, slowly.
Oh, hold on.
Big slit. Okay, we got a lot of people asking questions. All right, let me see. All right, what's your question?
So, when you guys are doing your routes, are the routes are going to be like on Google Docs, or what is the website?
Oh, good question. Okay. So by me being a route, I don't exactly know how. I mean, I know it's going to be typed up. Routes will be directed, typed up, but we have not have talked to the CEO about that because I know the system.
Okay, I got that. Okay, so it will be. Okay, so there's a template that we're basing this off of, which is pretty much through Google Sheets, but you're not going to see the Google Sheet outline. It's more so going to be a PDF, and it's going to be in like a Google Drive, or we're mainly trying to get it as a GUI or UI or whatever it is. I'm not too sure about that. Where we'll be scripted into it, so you will be able to select the number that you are, and you'll be able to see your routes and stops and all that.
Okay, that's good. I was like wondering about that. I was like, oh my goodness. What
Okay.
is
Okay. Do you have anything else you have a question about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else next in line have a question? Citizen next, raise their hand. Okay, Justin. Justin, Ashley, what's your question, Justin? I can't hear you.
He's on his phone.
Type in my DM and I'll read it.
Actually, we can hear you now. Say it. Because maybe a question that everybody else may have too as well. Okay, anyone else?
Hello.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Someone asked a question in the chat. They said, will air brake license be required for air brake buses?
Hold on, wait. Well, air brake license. Yes, that is just like in real life. You have to have a CDL endorsement to drive an air brake bus. But so when you come out, if you pass CDL training, you will get an endorsement, your S endorsement to drive a school bus. Then you get your L restriction, which restricts you from driving any bus with a full air brake system. But if you want to drive a bus with air brakes, you're going to have to take a separate test and separate courses dealing with air brakes to get that endorsement.
And to also add on for those who may be confused, if you would like to be a bus aide or any other sub thing, not a sub driver, but anything below a driver, in clerical work, you would not need a CDL. You can still come on in and apply all of that. But
Yes.
before you get past that, after you get your interview, you will be directed. It'll still be like a training course, but it's not going to be more so of that, what you're thinking of. Like, you got to go through all these courses just to be that rank. No, it's just going to be a simple thing, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then boom, you may be in. It just depends on how things are in your process.
Okay.
Someone else asked, do we have to apply to be a special needs driver?
Yes, everybody. Any position here, you have to apply. Train,
Yes.
interview, everything.
So, and just a little clarification, you're gonna have to submit an application to get admitted into MCBST. That's the first thing. Then, once you've been interviewed and you passed your interview and you are so you're a past applicant, then you need to submit another application or to apply for CDL training because that application is going to tell us what are you looking for? Like, do you want to be a sub driver? Do you want to be a full-time driver? What schools do you want to serve? And all that. So that's why there's going to be two applications to send. And then if you want to be something in administration as far as transportation or mechanics or something higher up, but in the staff department, then there'll be an application for that. But anybody else have any questions on anything? It doesn't even have to be about the operations. It could be about like the rules or something.
And to also reiterate, mics are really mandatory if you want to be. We can't just have random people coming up here because there are a lot of people that's banned up out of here, and that's just a security step that we have to take. So yeah.
Someone's got a question.
Will there be routes on the weekends?
Okay, before you start talking, if there some taxi brought this up before the meeting. Now, as far as that, we can if y'all want routes on weekends, we can do that, but it's not going to be a mandatory thing because we know y'all are going to have school, so we're not going to be as strict as far as attendance, but you still need to show up when you can. And another thing, don't apply if you know you got stuff in your life that's going to hinder you from being active here. Don't waste our time and don't waste your time. So just I'm gonna make that very clear. But if y'all want a route session during a school holiday or on the weekend, we can make that happen. But it's on it's up to kind of the community because it's going to depend on how many majority people want that. Um, Fat on average, how many stops on a normal route? You would have to ask Jaden that, but the routes are going to be designed to where you don't end up just having a long break. They're going to be designed to where like a realistic route session, like how routes are supposed to be made and efficient. But MHM, what is your question?
All right, so I was gonna ask what time the routes were during the weekdays, if you know.
Routes during the weekdays, that that's also something to be determined because everybody's schedule is different, and that also depends on the host, because it's gonna be like we're gonna have people that are like gonna be hosting, because it's not only gonna be me or the administrators hosting trainings. We're gonna have some positions for hosts to have trainings, because that's like it should be. We're gonna have that, but as far as times, it's not gonna be early in the afternoon. It'll probably be somewhere later in the evening as far as route times. Um, is that all you had, or is there another question?
No, yeah, that's good.
All right.
And before we bring up the other people, something that I also was discussing with Burker and the other administration.
Someone, hold on. Someone asked, can they only drive in the weekends?
See, like,
After
we don't.
August 11th. Well, we're going like I said, the host can determine when they can hold. The host determines whenever they host a route. I don't care what time y'all host a route, but it needs to be within a reasonable time that you are going to get some people to attend, because is why host a route at a unreasonable time that nobody's gonna show up to. And like I said, we get that y'all have school. We get that. But like I said, don't apply if you know there's going to be stuff that's going to hinder you from being active. So it boils down to the point of what your life is and and how your schedule is set up. It all boils down to that. So skirt, I'm going to bring you up. Okay. Ashton, gonna be moved up to speak. All right, what's your question?
You look, I noticed something. Okay, so once y'all ban somebody, y'all need to make sure y'all IP ban them. I'm not gonna say who said it, but just know they said that they got a VPN on their computer and they gonna switch their IP address and out accounts to be in the server. I'm not gonna say who did it.
Okay. I'm about to tell you. So you wasn't here when we discussed this, but there is a layer of security that has and will be in place right after this meeting. Channels will be getting removed from a lot of people, so they will not be able to see public channels. The only thing that they will be able to see is the information category, and they will be able to see the applicant category. That's all they will be able to see And if they want to put an on in here, so be it. It's not like they're gonna be able to get in here because we're going to need to hear their voice before they even get their interview. Well, during that interview, they're gonna need to talk, and then we're gonna know who they really are. That's all.
Yeah,
got one
so
more
it's a mic is gonna be required, like we said. So if you don't have a mic, it like on the form is gonna ask you, do you have a working mic or something like that. It's gonna question you if you have a mic. And if you don't have a working mic, your application is gonna have to be denied because we need to know who you are and what you sound like, and that's how we'll be able to determine if you're going to succeed and be a part of this company or not.
Because the key thing that people fail to have is realism in the structure of the company. They want to have somewhat of a realistic route, but you can't have a realistic route if you don't have a realistic structure to your organization. So that means if people want to type in the chat thinking that's the CB radio, that's not the CB radio. Because in real life, you can't do that. You have to speak over the radio. That's only if that district has, but which we know Discord is our CB radio at the end of the day. So you will need to be able to speak, and that mic needs to be functional. And there will be no voice changes, no none of that allowed. And I know because I've been on this app for years. So I know who's using the voice changer and who's not. So if y'all think that can work, no, that's not gonna work.
And this is just going to refrain back on the rules. Y'all can think wherever y'all want about us putting all these restrictions in place, but we were forced to do this first of all, and then secondly, we're doing this because we're trying to create a role playing environment where we don't have any drama or just stupid childish stuff. So that's why we're putting all this in place. And maybe in the future, I'm not promising anything because I don't make promises I don't keep. But maybe in the future we can open some things back up. But as of now, we have to lock stuff down because people think they can come in here and run over us, and that's not going to happen. It's not. We're done. We're going to implement a one strike and you are out of here system. So if we told you to stop something, disperse of it, whatever the case is, and you keep on dragging it on or have a problem with someone, then you're just going to be banned. It's no question asked because it's it's just stupid and childish for you to keep on to keep on a dispute when you've been told to shut it down, stop it. And the best way to avoid a dispute in a public chat or something is to not even respond to it. Take initiative, block them, ban them, whatever you can to not cause a dispute. But some people don't understand that and don't want to take that initiative and like to look for and try to get attention by responding to everything that a person says.
Right. Not everything deserves a response.
So,
If
any more
anything, this
questions?
meeting should be your first warning that, you
Yes,
know,
it really should. This is going to be a wake up call for any of y'all that who probably has we had some past issues with. But if you still in here, you better be thankful that you still are in here and still got a chance. But after this meeting, you if something happens or if you do something that's disrespectful and breaks one of our rules, you get one warning and boom, you're out of here. Not coming back.
Yeah, and to further say, there will only be an applicant chat, but not
And
really
we got
people.
and we have logs too. That's another thing. Y'all do not think that we see what y'all are typing. We can see when you delete something, when you edit something, and we even know when you're cursing. So I don't even understand why y'all are trying to evade or go around the fact of getting the message blocked or deleted when you try to curse. It's not going to be allowed. It's done. There's no need to curse. It's just it shows that you have very poor vocabulary and that you're stupid and ignorant when you have to result into cursing.
Well, that brings us safe to say. Is there any more questions?
I'm looking in general to see if anybody else is.
Get in the request box, type in the chat, do what you got to do. so we can get this adjourned. I take that as everybody well profound to know what's
Hold
about.
on, someone's typing. Okay, so MCBS sales, that is done. That is shut down. That's been abused. We had to take that away because someone wants to threaten leaking the buses. So we had to shut it down.
Oh my god, who?
And not even about the threatening part. I just feel like there's no need to sell buses because people just take the advantage of it.
Yes,
And then
people took advantage of it.
that also means you cannot go back behind our back and sell these buses. No, you ain't about to do that. Just like I said, I will know if you're doing something, so don't get caught, because that will be further in the blacklist.
I mean, y'all should be thankful because I've seen some, aviation tech groups, they'll file an actual lawsuit on you and take it to court. So, you know.
Yes, be thankful that I took the initiative and wanted to actually be nice and give y'all some nice stuff and some nice buses to have. But people love to take people love to take my kindness for weakness, and that's why I shut it down because people want to threaten leaking the buses, take advantage, and it was just too much, and it was hindering me from doing stuff for MCBST alone. But 2K, 24 KJs, do we pick our assigned buses? So you're going to be given the bus number is already assigned. You pick from what number is already set from the bus list. And it's going to have a designated route number and route time and stuff. So you basically just picking a bus number that's already been assigned.
By the way, to give a lot of people a heads up, if y'all are wishing to apply when that application come out, give quality responses. That's all I can really say, because when you just giving one sentence, oh, I love school buses, on a portion that'll ask you, why do you want to be employed, or why do you want this job? It shouldn't be about, oh, I love it for the kids. And we need things that's quality,
Yeah,
not
like
quality.
put some time into your application. Like don't because if we see that there's no work and no effort in your application, we're just gonna ignore it and delete it. It's just that simple. So if you want show how bad you want to be an administrator and how bad you want to be a part of this company and fulfill its duties to make it better and for a better role play environment.
By the way, seniority will be implemented in here. So as soon as you get into the company, your name will be placed on a list. So that list will range from one to however many people gets in, and you have the chance to move up or may move down based on your activity and your attendance. If you're here every day, you have a higher chance to be able to get up and be in probably the top 10. It just depends on your activity, your dedication, your behavior, and all of that. And also, what I was talking to Burke about is that we will have a standard bus, which will be Louisiana spec. I don't know if he want to really do that, but I was more so thinking that. And if your seniority is high over time, then you may be able to get a bus with your name on it and probably a custom spec. But that's just if you're here every day and you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, so don't think you just think we're not paying attention to who's doing what they're supposed to do in the company. Like we will reward you with good stuff and let y'all have a little freedom with the buses during routes and have more fun. But you have to show us that you're dedicated to that you're dedicated and you want to be here. And the seniority is going to really come into play because it depends on how many routes you attended out of how many were hosted, and your behavior, how you act during routes, outside of routes, and so it just all boils down to how you act and how you carry yourself.
All right, go ahead.
So I want to know if there's going to be any realism in the CB, because there's a lot of bus games out there in the CB, and people just talk nonstop like their normal life.
Yeah, it'll
Oh,
be
that good thing you mentioned that
like
because that we you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna push to talk is going to be it's gonna be set automatically because that's what you have to do on the
Right.
radio. You have to push a button to talk. So that's to prevent any background noise because what gets me the most is people having background noise and it distracts the drivers from the routes. So you're gonna have push to talk is going to be on, and if you need to say something, you better make sure the channel is clear first. Make sure you're not talking over anybody or talking to some.
So there's going to be CB rules also.
There's gonna be what?
There's going to be CB rules also.
What do
yeah.
you mean by that? CB roles.
No, he said rule.
Oh yes. So the guidelines is going to be updated once we get all this done after the meeting. The guidelines are going to be updated because there's some. I feel like there's some stuff that people some people have taken advantage of and tried to bend around. So we're gonna revise the rules and add or remove some rules. So just be aware of that. But as far as voice channel guidelines, if you have a noisy background, go on push to talk. But when it comes to the CB channels, push to talk is already going to be on.
And by the way, to add on to that, maybe over time when things are good, the CB radio may be open for y'all to be able to chat and talk. But as soon as somebody got to say something important, then they will be able to say what they needed to say. Y'all just gotta
But
go through the conversation.
and some of y'all may remember um the MCBST handbook. That and it showed and it if you actually did read it or skim through it a little bit, you would see that there was a section for radio etiquette, and it told and it pointed out some key things that are going to be structured here for the CB channels. So just making that aware.
All
You know
right.
what you
But we're
should do?
doing
You
this.
should just, if you want to
What
make
you
it
say, Tay?
easier, make it through zones. Have them in different VCs, and when they enter a certain zone, that's their designated area to speak in.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I
He
didn't
was
get.
saying to have okay, so I know a lot of contractors does this. So throughout different zones, there'll be certain CB radio, not even different contractors, but I know a lot of districts. So like say for instance, okay, we can be in high school, well, like, the high school, that'll be like a high school CB, and, the middle school maybe, and just different things. Or it can still be on that same radio, but certain zones in the map that you're driving for will need you in a different radio, in a sense. You get it?
I get it
Like
now
it'll
because
be multiple,
it's kind of
multiple.
like a parish in a way because like anything in that anything in one parish, you can't hear in the other parish. Like it's only you can only hear what's going
Right.
on in your parish. So
If
that
you
makes
aren't
sense.
directly working for the county, you would have to be in a designated zone. And every time you would go into a new zone, which I'm guessing you're not supposed to, but you would switch over to the next zone, radio wise.
Because see,
So
like I know like how my district is set up is very, very weird. So we have multiple contractors, but then within that one contractor school bus company, it's like they have okay, this this organization, I'm gonna say like mm, KIP. KIP may have their own radio, but still, within this company, KIP have their own zone, and then maybe I don't know, just make up something else. They have their own zone. So as soon as you stop driving for that one zone, but you're still within that company and you switch over, then you go into that other dispatcher. Or like if
Okay.
we have two lots, then that'll be the radio that you will be in. Or if you have to go over and drive for another school that lot is assigned to, then you will be able to switch to that radio. It just depends.
All right. So one person had a question. What kind of school buses are we going to use for routes? So as I mentioned before, the for fleet buses, bus type variety will be limited in the beginning to probably 2 or 3 bus types or bus brands.
No,
So,
they're talking about as far as the ones that you had up on sale or something else.
well, someone thinks that we're going to be using the buses that were up for sale. Not exactly because some of those buses are not very presentable for the company, so they will be modified to an extent for routes, and they will be fixed up. Bluebird, that's already out. That's already going to be in service. That's going to be a majority thing. Yes, we will have some CEs. Okay, what if we see a driver doing something wrong? If we see something, do you want us to say something and
Okay,
point out the?
I want to
No,
talk.
hold on.
Y'all better snitch.
Well,
Hold
hold
on.
on. There's gonna be a form. So if anything happens during routes, whether it be a stop or a violation or whatever the case may be, you can submit a form. But here's the thing. People really like to accuse and lie on people for something. And that's why we're putting in this information because if someone submits something something that happened during routes, if you have to you have to provide us the bus number, and we can then pull up who you have to describe what happened, what the situation was, and if you have any evidence of what happened, then we highly suggest that you give us some evidence so we know it's nothing that was just said on words. But if you say you're gonna have to tell us that what happened, then the bus number. Then we could pull up who was driving that bus, and if they were a sub driver, we know who the sub driver is, so they still get the same consequence as a regular bus driver. It could be video or photo, but I mean, kind of video helps.
All right.
It should
Also,
allow you the. Someone said they can't join the meeting. That's strange.
and something that I also wanted to say. Okay, so to also add on to a couple of things, I just really forgot what I was getting ready to say. But just go ahead, Bert, if you had something.
Well, someone says they cannot join the meeting.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about. So basically, when you want to speak to a staff member about an issue that you have, please don't come to us with the childishness. I don't want to hear something that another driver doing way across the map. You should not. Well, of course. Okay, so this is different. I can't say that. But still, if somebody does something that's not harming you, don't say anything. If they're harming somebody else, let that person go and speak for themselves. And not everybody need to gang up on that one person and go do whatever. But if you see somebody way across the map, or if you happen to be near that, just say watching. And I don't know, because people can watch people. That's only if you have that free cam option. So if you can see people, if you're not an administrator, do not go and try to talk about nothing. because that's very childish. I had to deal with that in another company, but not really on this game. But in a sense, it's about the same thing that I know people will probably do. So please just don't do it.
Also, another thing, like anything that happens, there, like, okay, so what we need to also we need to limit the fact of your people coming to our DMs. Like that should not be a habit. There's a ticket system for a reason, and there's a reason we're going to have forms to limit how many people come in our DMs because we don't need people flooding our DMs and messaging us about this. That's so we're going to have forms, and then the ticket is going to help with describing what happened. So it could be done with all the administrators and not one. Because if you do it with one administrator, the administrator may not tell us, or it just gets relayed differently and we all got to figure out what's going on. So use the ticket system and use the forms that we're going to have in place. But Skirt is having a Skirt has a question.
All right, come on. What's your question? Join the thing. Oh, all right, come on.
You know, if you have,
So I got a question.
Yes.
So like, how are the trainings are gonna work? Cause I want to know.
Okay, trainings. CDL course information. All members that would like to start the CDL training program at MCBST will have to be will have to be enrolled by completing the enrollment form. They have to have passed the interview and the admission application. Trainees will attend CDL classes that are hosted 2 days out of the week and a weekend training for the recap of those two lessons. Trainees will be evaluated closely as they partake in the CDL classes and when they go to complete their driving course. Those who pass will receive their CDL and S endorsement and L restriction. Those who wish to remove their L restriction will have to take an additional test in separate class. So the classroom curriculum is going to provide air brake instruction, hydraulic brake instruction, general pre-trip and post-trip, passenger safety and evacuation protocols, and then the CDL road and safety test will test you on the air brake, hydraulic brake, pre-trip and post-trip, and the actual road test. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
you know, if you really want to be ghetto, y'all could put auto logs on the A chassis, and it would basically hook it up to a webhook that would basically tell when the driver does an error, goes over the speed, breaks down, overpasses, stuff like that. That
I
makes
don't know how
sense.
to do that test.
See, Jaden was
See,
talking about with the ambers
I
and the reds and stuff.
I know someone who can do it, but I'm not sure if they would sell it because it's specified. You would have to redo the whole chassis for it because they have it made for a custom chassis, which it's very advanced compared to the ones we got, but it's definitely worth it because basically you wouldn't even need monitors.
If you have to leave, you have to leave. But we're gonna post all this information in Google Slides, so just know that. But um, so any more questions, really? Oh, Taxi has another question.
All right. So I got a question. So so like uh, do we have to sign like a form or sign like a waiver, or do we have to tell
A waiver
someone
for what?
uh like like to take like how many days off?
Okay, so you really in the workplace, in the real workplace, you can only take off for a certain amount of days out of probably a month. Out of a month. So once you exceed that, then it counts against you regardless. So you will give you'll be given a set amount of days that you can do a LOA and it not count against you. But once you use them all up, it starts to count against you after that. So that's what I'm saying. Use your kind of use your LOA wisely. If use a leave of absence if you're going to be gone for a certain period of time, not just for one day, because one day can be accepted without a large penalty. Then you using up all your leave of absent chances.
All right. That answer my question. I'm gonna go back to the audience.
Okay.
All right, so I'm
Another
currently
question.
working on some of these channels. So if y'all see some things being removed, y'all will only be able to see information once again in the registry category until you be able to move under the evaluation. And that's right after you get your application accepted. Also, do not beg for your application to be read, because that will lower your chances of them being read. By the way.
All right, what's your question?
Is there going to be like a point system?
A point system? What do you mean?
A point system is like how much days you could stay off, like not like being a bus driver for a day, like a sub.
I don't.
Like, are
All
we
right.
only allowed to like have a sub for a certain amount of days before we actually get warned or something?
Okay, so if you having a sub, if you have to get a sub to do your route, that means you're taking an LOA or hold on. So if you get a sub now, now we can't really limit that, but if you just getting a sub every other every time we host a route session, then that's going to make it look like you don't want to be a part of routes and you're trying to put someone else to do your job that you applied for. So it doesn't so that I'm just saying use your leave of absences and know if you are going to be out for something, plan ahead and just know. Because when it comes down to it, we don't like last minute stuff. We really don't. If it's something that could have been uh prevented or something that could have been dealt with beforehand and it happens and then it until the last minute something has to happen, I don't like that. If I'm not informed about something and then I'm not informed about something until the last minute, I don't like that.
Is there going to be like random like trainings and like recaps on like how
No,
to drive and stuff?
it shouldn't be random. No. We are going to have a set days where we have the two training sessions out of the week and then the recap is going to be on one day of the weekend. So there may be a route session and a training session in one day. Maybe it depends on what day those routes and trainings fall on. But the trainings, we want them to be on either a Tuesday and a Thursday, a Tuesday or a Thursday, and then the recap session was going to be on a Saturday on the weekend. So people can know because if the training is not going to be like a typical training that you go to, it's going to be actually where you sit in a class and actually learn something and learn about the buses. So if you miss a session, you fall behind. Now we get if you can't attend the session, but that's why we're having the recaps is to help those who missed during the week on the weekends to catch up. But is that all? Is that your only question, or you have something else?
That's all.
All right. Anybody else have any more questions that um y'all may have before the meeting is called? 'Cause I see a lot of people have done kind of left, but it seems like everybody. Yeah, so if that's it, then we'll call the meeting. I hope this meeting is a wake up call for some of y'all because it's gotten really down to the point where we had to do all this because of over people who don't know how to act. So yes, we're gonna be behind the scenes watching who's gonna be in the company and who's not. You're gonna be watching that. So just know that. But if there's no more questions, we will call this meeting. It's just the last call. Well, y'all have a good rest of your evening, and thank you for coming to the meeting.